Nearly 14 years ago, a Central Florida jury acquitted Casey Anthony of murdering her daughter, Kaylee.
Casey was raised to lie. This child, who at 8 years old, learned to lie immediately.
Casey Anthony, the woman at the center of one of the most controversial trials in U.S. history, has returned to the public eye.
My first of probably many recordings.
More than a decade after being acquitted in the death of her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee Anthony, she is now active on social media, claiming to be a legal advocate and launching a TikTok and Substack platform to share her story. In July 2008, Kaylee was reported missing, 31 days after she was last seen alive. It wasn't her mother, Casey, who made the report, but her grandmother, Cindy Anthony, in a frantic 911 call that set off a national firestorm. Cindy told the dispatcher she had just found her daughter's car, and the overwhelming smell of human decomposition inside led her to fear the worst. This case gripped the nation with disturbing details. Investigators found Kaylee's remains in a wooded area near the Anthony home, wrapped in trash bags. Casey misled police for weeks, claiming a nanny had taken Kaylee. The 2011 trial ended in a not guilty verdict on murder charges, though she was convicted of lying to law enforcement. Now, after years of silence, Casey Anthony is back online, gaining millions of views on TikTok and charging subscribers $10 a month for exclusive content. Her re-emergence raises new questions. Is this an attempt to reclaim her narrative, or another effort to profit from a tragedy? More than a decade after being acquitted of murder, Casey Anthony has re-emerged in the public eye, launching a TikTok account and a paid Substack platform where she now claims to be a legal advocate. With millions of views and thousands of followers, her return has reignited debates about her past, her intentions, and whether she should be allowed to profit from her notoriety. In her TikTok videos, Casey presents herself as an advocate for legal issues, women's rights, and privacy protection. One of her first clips features her saying, "I am a legal advocate. I have been in the legal field since 2011. While she does not specify what experience qualifies her for this role, critics were quick to point out that her involvement with the legal system began with her own murder trial, not as a professional, but as a defendant. Many have questioned whether this claim is a deliberate attempt to mislead her audience into believing she has legitimate legal credentials. Her social media presence has grown rapidly. Within days of launching her TikTok, Casey racked up over 3 million views. Her followers continue to grow, with some expressing curiosity, others voicing outrage, and a select few appearing to support her. Meanwhile, her Substack account is offering paid subscriptions at $10 per month or $100 per year, with promises of exclusive content and deeper insights into her life and legal discussions. Many have expressed disbelief that she is now attempting to build a career off the same justice system that once sought to convict her. Social media has been flooded with reactions, with users calling for boycotts and urging others not to engage with her content. Some believe this is nothing more than another attempt to profit from her daughter's death, while others argue that her acquittal means she has the right to move forward with her life, regardless of public opinion. Despite her efforts to control the narrative, the backlash has been swift. Comments on her TikTok videos are filled with users questioning how she can call herself an advocate when she was convicted of lying to law enforcement about Kaylee's disappearance. Others bring up the partying photos and carefree behavior she displayed while her daughter was missing. The general sentiment among the public seems to be that Casey Anthony's attempt at rebranding herself as a legal expert is both tone-deaf and opportunistic. Her new online presence raises important ethical questions. Should someone with a history as infamous as Casey Anthony's be able to use social media to rebuild their image? Is there a moral responsibility on platforms like TikTok and Substack to limit individuals from profiting off their criminal notoriety, even if they were acquitted? And perhaps most importantly, will the public ever allow Casey Anthony to move on? Or will she forever be remembered as the woman accused of her daughter's murder? From the moment Caylee Anthony was reported missing, Casey Anthony's explanations for her daughter's disappearance were riddled with contradictions. Over time, she presented multiple conflicting stories, each one drastically different from the last. These inconsistencies not only raised suspicion, but also became a key part of the 2011 trial, where prosecutors argued that Casey's ever-changing accounts pointed to her guilt. The first version of events came in July 2008, when Cindy Anthony, Casey's mother, called 911 to report that Caylee had been missing for 31 days. When questioned by police, Casey claimed that Caylee had been kidnapped by a woman named Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez, a nanny who had allegedly been watching Caylee while Casey was at work. She provided details about Zenaida, even spelling out her full name for authorities. However, when investigators followed up on this lead, they discovered that no such person had ever been Caylee's nanny. They located a real woman by the same name, who had no connection to Casey or her daughter. This woman later sued Casey for defamation, as she was wrongly thrust into the national spotlight. When it became clear that the nanny story was a lie, Casey changed her account. By the time the case went to trial in 2011, her defense team, led by Jose Baez, introduced a completely new narrative. Caylee had not been kidnapped. She had drowned in 2008, the Anthony family pool on June 16, 2008. Casey claimed that her father, George Anthony, had discovered Caylee's body and insisted that they cover up her accidental death. This revelation stunned the courtroom, as it was the first time this version of events had ever been mentioned. During the initial investigation, Casey had never once suggested that Caylee had drowned. Instead, she had maintained the kidnapping story until trial. The drowning theory also came with another serious accusation. Casey's defense team claimed that George Anthony had sexually abused Casey as a child, which they suggested explained her deceptive behavior. The defense argued that Casey had grown up learning to hide trauma and lie under pressure, which was why she didn't initially reveal what had really happened. George Anthony vehemently denied these claims, and there was no evidence to support the allegations of sexual abuse. He took the stand and emotionally refuted the accusations, calling them false and deeply painful. One of the most critical moments of the trial came when George Anthony testified about the odor coming from Casey's car. In court, he recalled the moment he went to retrieve Casey's Pontiac Sunfire from an impound lot. As soon as he approached the vehicle, he noticed a strong and unmistakable smell. I got within 3 feet of the car, and I could smell it. When I opened the door, the smell was overwhelming. It smelled like human decomposition. Experts later confirmed that air samples from the trunk contained chemical compounds consistent with human decomposition, and investigators found a single strand of Caylee's hair, which showed signs of post-mortem changes. However, because Caylee's remains were too decomposed to determine an exact cause of death, the prosecution could not present definitive forensic proof that she had been murdered. But the lack of a conclusive cause of death left room for uncertainty. The defense's drowning theory, despite its inconsistencies, was enough to convince the jury that the state had not met the burden of proof required for a murder conviction. Ultimately, the jury acquitted Casey Anthony of first-degree murder, manslaughter, and child abuse, citing insufficient forensic proof. However, she was convicted on 4 counts of lying to law enforcement. Even though Casey Anthony was found not guilty, the forensic evidence in this case continues to be a subject of public debate and expert analysis. The placement of Kaylee's remains, the presence of duct tape, and the decomposition findings all suggest that Kaylee's death was not accidental. Yet, in the absence of definitive proof, the full truth of what happened to her may never be known. One of the most alarming aspects of the Casey Anthony case was her unusual behavior in the 31 days after Kaylee was last seen alive. While most parents of missing children are desperate to find them, making pleas to the public and cooperating with law enforcement, Casey never reported Kaylee missing. Instead, it was her mother, Cindy Anthony, who made the 911 call more than a month later. During this critical time, Casey displayed no visible distress over her daughter's disappearance. Instead of searching for Kaylee or notifying authorities, she was frequently seen partying, drinking, and spending time with friends. Surveillance photos and witness testimonies confirmed that she attended nightclubs, participated in a hot body contest, and even got a tattoo reading Bella Vita, Beautiful Life, on her back, all while Kaylee was missing. A former bodyguard who worked with Casey after her arrest later revealed that she never appeared genuinely upset about her daughter's disappearance. According to him, Casey acted carefree and detached, showing no signs of grief or desperation. She also never spoke about searching for Kaylee, nor did she express concern for her safety. Casey's actions during these 31 days became a focal point for investigators. Law enforcement found it highly unusual that a mother would behave this way if her child was truly missing. This inconsistency in her behavior and statements led detectives to believe that she already knew Kaylee was dead and was actively trying to cover it up. When questioned, Casey repeatedly lied to the police, insisting that Kaylee was with a nanny named Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez, a person who did not exist. She led officers to an empty apartment where she claimed the nanny lived, took them on a fake tour of Universal Studios, and only admitted the truth when she was cornered. Ultimately, her actions raised serious doubts about her innocence and became a major piece of the prosecution's argument in the 2011 trial. Casey Anthony's return to the public eye has sparked intense backlash across social media. Her decision to launch a TikTok account and a paid Substack platform where she claims to be a legal advocate has been met with outrage, disbelief, and renewed scrutiny. Many argue that she is attempting to profit off her past notoriety, while others question whether she should be allowed to build a platform at all. Since her TikTok account surfaced, social media users have flooded the comments with criticism. Many express anger that she is receiving attention and financial support, while others find it disturbing that she now presents herself as a legal expert. One user wrote, "The fact that she has followers makes me lose faith in humanity." Another commented, "She should not be making money off the death of her daughter." Despite the backlash, Casey has already gained thousands of followers and millions of views, and some people are subscribing to her Substack for $10 a month. While critics are calling for boycotts and urging people not to engage with her content, others remain curious about what she has to say. Some believe she has a right to speak, given that she was acquitted in 2011, while others argue that the trial's outcome does not erase the serious doubts surrounding her involvement in Kaylee's death. This situation raises an important ethical debate. Should individuals who were acquitted of serious crimes be allowed to rebuild their public image and profit from their infamy? Some argue that her acquittal means she has the right to move forward, while others believe that moral responsibility should outweigh legal technicalities. Regardless of differing opinions, one thing is clear: Casey Anthony's reemergence has reignited public outrage, and the debate over her past and present is far from over. Since her 2011 acquittal, Casey Anthony has made multiple attempts to profit from her past, often facing backlash in the process. Over the years, she has pursued book deals, television projects, and documentary appearances, all of which have been met with controversy and public outrage. Now, with her return to social media, many believe this is just the latest in a series of efforts to turn her infamy into financial gain. In 2016, Casey attempted to secure a book deal. Reports surfaced that she was working on a memoir that would provide her version of events, but publishers allegedly declined due to public backlash. The idea of Casey profiting from Kaylee's death was met with immediate criticism, and the book deal never materialized. By 2019, she took a different approach and pitched a reality TV show. The proposed series would focus on her life after the trial, including her dating experiences and attempts to move forward. This concept was also widely rejected, as networks feared the negative response from audiences who still viewed her as guilty in the court of public opinion. In 2022, Casey returned to the spotlight in a more controlled way, participating in the Peacock docuseries Casey Anthony, Where the Truth Lies. The three-part special gave her a platform to share her side of the story, revisiting her accusations against her father, George Anthony, and offering a revised account of Kaylee's death. The documentary was widely criticized, with many seeing it as a blatant attempt to manipulate the narrative and position herself as a victim rather than a defendant in one of the most infamous cases in recent history. Despite the public backlash, the series generated significant attention, proving that Casey's name still had the power to attract viewers, even if most were watching out of morbid curiosity rather than support. Now, Casey Anthony has taken her efforts into her own hands, using social media to control her public image. With her TikTok account quickly gaining millions of views, and her Substack offering paid subscriptions at $10 a month or $100 per year, it appears she is once again leveraging the notoriety of her past to generate income. Critics argue that this is just another calculated move to monetize her name, as she presents herself as a legal advocate, despite having no formal qualifications. Others point out that her attempt to rebuild her brand is not just about financial gain, but also about reshaping public perception, distancing herself from the lingering accusations and suspicions surrounding Kaylee's death. While Casey Anthony's return to the public eye has stirred renewed controversy, its impact on her parents, George and Cindy Anthony, cannot be ignored. For years, they have endured relentless public scrutiny, harassment, and deep emotional trauma stemming from their daughter's actions and accusations. Cindy and George were initially among Casey's biggest defenders, but as the case unfolded, they found themselves caught in the crossfire, particularly when Casey began shifting blame onto her father. During the trial, Casey's defense team alleged that George Anthony had sexually abused her as a child and had helped cover up Kaylee's death, a claim George has vehemently denied. In the years following the trial, the couple has faced financial difficulties, including the foreclosure of their home, which they once shared with Casey and Kaylee. The relentless media attention and public hostility have taken a toll on their personal lives, making it difficult for them to move forward. George, in particular, suffered a serious car accident in 2019, which left him hospitalized and in recovery for months. Cindy, despite initially standing by her daughter, has publicly expressed frustration and heartbreak over Casey's actions, particularly her continued efforts to rewrite the story. A recently resurfaced clip from Cindy Anthony reveals the lasting emotional trauma she continues to experience. In the interview, Cindy becomes visibly distressed while discussing Casey's accusations against George, struggling to breathe as she recalls the pain of hearing her own daughter make such claims. The emotional weight of the case has never left the Anthony family. and Casey's latest move to reinsert herself into the public sphere only threatens to reopen old wounds. While Casey Anthony may be trying to reclaim control over her narrative, the consequences extend beyond her own reputation. Her parents, who have already suffered immense personal and financial hardship, now find themselves once again entangled in the aftermath of a case that they can never escape. As Casey builds her platform and seeks to profit from her past, the question remains, at what cost to those she left behind? Casey Anthony's return to the public eye has reignited controversy, with many questioning whether she is seeking redemption or simply trying to profit from her past. Despite being acquitted, public perception of her remains overwhelmingly negative, and her attempts to rebrand herself as a legal advocate have only fueled further backlash. While some argue that she has the right to move on, others believe that the circumstances surrounding Kaylee's death will forever define her in the public eye. More than a decade later, this case remains one of the most infamous in true crime history. The unanswered questions, shifting narratives, and forensic uncertainties continue to spark debate. Whether Casey Anthony's new platform succeeds or fades into obscurity, the tragic story of Kaylee Anthony will never be forgotten, serving as a reminder of a justice system that left many still searching for the truth.